Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video. We're going to have a look at the ECMWF extended model for today's second video. So this is a 30-day look ahead for the UK and for the rest of Europe as well, technically, but we will also extend out to weeks 5 and 6 with the data as well. So it's a 6 weeks look ahead really, but you know, historically, traditionally on the channel, Tuesday was the 30-day look ahead for Europe. So I shall get on with that for you very shortly. Just to say that the first video release today was our 7 AM forecast. I've got a 10 to 14 day with all of the regular features coming up for you later on this afternoon. Please like, share, subscribe on all videos. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. And we'll get on with the video then. So we're going to begin with the week 1 mean sea level pressure anomaly. This is going to take us from the 19th to the 26th of July. The coming week we'll have high pressure dominating across northern and western parts of Europe, or the week that we're currently in. High pressure dominating across northern western parts of Europe. Lower pressure being pushed down towards Biscay, towards Spain. That's going to threaten like thunderstorms up the western side of Europe. This ridge also extending into eastern and southeastern parts of Europe, including the eastern Med. And then low pressure digging in through western Russia and down towards the Black Sea. Obviously, that area of high pressure will be bringing in hot air across many parts of Europe from the east and from the southeast as well. This is the week 1 500 millibar height anomaly, taking us from the 19th to 26th of July. Again, high pressure dominates across northern and western Europe. Lower pressure up here, so trough low pressure going through this northeastern, far eastern part of Europe. Most parts of northern, central, western Europe dominated by the high pressure, and then we get this low pressure down here, pushing in towards Biscay and threatening parts of Spain. Right, so the temperature anomaly for week 1 looks hard across western and northwest parts of Europe. So we've got southern Scandinavia here, Denmark through to southern Norway, Sweden, and into the Baltic Sea, looking very warm. It looks really warm or hot across many parts of Ireland and the UK. So one of the hottest places in Europe, actually, Ireland and the UK this week, with the temperature anomaly, you know, in that orange colour, orange shading. It's around 3 to 6 degrees above average. So a really warm to hot week coming up across much of West Europe. That extends down into France, so certain western parts of France, and through into eastern Spain as well. Portugal looks a little bit cooler, and then the central bowl of the Med is actually warmer than average until we get from Italy in towards Greece and Turkey. Then it's much more mixed with temperature on is there. In some areas cooler than average. Cooler than average around the Balkans as well, and extending northwards towards the Black Sea. And the far north of Scandinavia is also cooler than average. So it is mixed and variable from area to area, but generally hottest in the west, and I suppose coolest in those more eastern areas probably. Precipitation wise, of course, we've got that big area of high pressure dominating. It's relatively dry, so much of northern Europe is relatively dry, albeit we have got thunderstorms sort of threatening southern England and probably across western parts of France as well. But most of northern, central, western Europe looking drier than average. Much of the Med from Italy back to Spain looks drier than average, although Portugal could be a little bit wetter. And then this southeastern part of Med looks a little bit more unsettled there, above average precipitation around Greece and Turkey, and some of that extending northwards up through parts of the Balkans, between the Balkans and the Black Sea. Right, that's week 1 done. Let's have a look at week 2. Takes us from the 26th of July to the 2nd of August. Quite a significant change takes place here. So we've got a ridge of high pressure now in the Atlantic pushing northwards. That's what we call a mid-Atlantic ridge. There's a trough of low pressure across northern and western. So we've got high pressure this week. Next week we replace it with low pressure, and the ridge sort of pushes over onto the eastern side of Europe. So you think this draws up hotter air at the eastern side of Europe from the south, but at the same time, the trough of low pressure could start to pull in cooler air from the north into the western side of Europe. And obviously, the boundary level could bring some real volatility, you know, as we break down the heat and change the air mass, push heat eastwards, then push the cooler air eastwards. That could spark off really bad thunderstorms again across some parts of Europe. The 500 millibar height anomaly looks like that. So again, very, very indicative of what we just saw with mean sea level pressure. Again, mid-Atlantic ridge extending up towards Greenland for week 2. High pressure on the eastern side of Europe, and a trough of low pressure in the West Europe. The jet stream is doing something like that. We take the heat eastwards, basically, through week 2. Week 2 temperature anomaly looks like this. So you can see it clearly getting much hotter across these northern and eastern parts of Europe. So that's where we're drawing up those hot southerly winds. We are still just about hanging on to above average temperatures for Ireland and the UK, but I'm a little bit dubious about that. I suspect temperatures will lower. And you can see that through like France, Germany, the Low Countries down to northern Spain, it's gone cooler than average, and I would suspect that the UK line probably gets drawn into that, eventually. And the warmest in the east and the northeast, coolest in the west of Europe for week 2. And the week 2 precipitation anomaly much more unsettled across these western parts of Europe. So from Ireland and the UK all the way over towards sort of Poland, becoming wetter than average. And of course, this could involve very, very significant thunderstorms again. So those areas that had such horrendous flooding last week, like Germany and into Belgium and the Low Countries, you've got to be watching out for the risk of more thunderstorms next week as we push this cooler air and that trough of low pressure eastwards. Conversely, maybe the eastern, southeastern parts of Europe are obviously going much drier than average as that ridge of high pressure slips into the east of Europe. Right, so we get through to week 3, which is going to be the 2nd through to the 9th of August. And we look like this. Lower pressure across eastern parts of Europe now. So that trough low pressure gradually extending eastwards by the look of it. Still with a ridge in the middle of the North Atlantic. Otherwise, not really clear what's happening across the northwest of Europe. We might be starting to transition back towards some higher pressure. Let's have a look at the 500 millibar height anomaly. That still looks quite unsettled, actually, for Western Europe, with a trough of low pressure centred, over northern France and into western parts of Germany and through the Low Countries as well. Still with that mid-Atlantic ridge in the Atlantic Ocean, and also high pressure up towards western parts of Russia. The temperature anomaly for week 3 looks like that. So much cooler here, much cooler first half to August, Western Europe. Again, we see below average temperature anomaly is signalled really from Ireland and the UK, right way through France, down into northern Spain, Belgium, Holland, Netherlands, into Germany. Again, cooler than average here. Hotter than average, warmer than average in the far north, northeast of Europe. Also rather warm on this east and southeast side of Europe in the Mediterranean for week 3. Let's get rid of that. Mediterranean for week 3. So we look cooler than average across the western side of Med, hotter than average in the eastern side of the Med. And week 3 precipitation anomalies looks rather unsettled for northern Europe. This is a very different August being seen here, certainly the first half of it. Wetter than average through these northern and western and central parts of Europe. Albeit, it's a weakening signal because we're 3 weeks out now, but it clearly looks quite unsettled for many parts of northern Europe in this week. Perhaps southern Europe, hinting at being a little bit drier, and also eastern parts of Europe could be a little bit drier as well. Right, week 4 is the 9th through to the 16th of August. No change. It looks like we begin to ridge the Azores high back into western parts of Europe again. So that's going to try and bring something a little bit warmer, perhaps, and drier up the western side of Europe. A trough of low pressure across the eastern part of Europe looks like is beginning to ease as well. The 500 millibar height anomaly, again, showing a ridge strengthening from Russia into Scandinavia. High pressure strengthening around the Azores. There might be some lower pressure still coming through here in the gap, with jet stream doing a little bit like that. The temperature anomaly for week 4 is warming up again across the northern and west parts of Europe. Notice Ireland and the UK going back into warmer temperature. Scandinavia looking very, very warm in this week, as is much of northeastern Europe. The central western parts of Europe do look cooler, though, particularly France, Germany, and the Low Countries again. quite cool through there, certainly cooler than average. The southeast part of the Med is hotter than average with near normal temperatures, or perhaps a bit on the cool side for western parts of Med. And the precipitation anomaly for week 4 from the 9th to the 16th of August looks like that. Still hints at being a little bit on the wetter side, I think, through like Germany and again northern parts of France. This is a bit worrying, unfortunately, for those flooded areas in Germany and in the Low Countries. This is rather concerning because it does look as though the first half of August is shaping up to be really quite unsettled. Conversely, it's drier though, up across many parts of Scandinavia, and the Med hinting at being a little bit on the drier side as well, albeit again the weakening signals with 4 weeks away. Right, so that's your 30-day look ahead. Let's just very quick go through weeks 5 and 6 data, because why not? So week 5 will be the 16th to the 23rd of August. So it looks like we've got a stronger high pressure signal there across many parts of Europe, particularly the central areas, as we go into week 5, into the second half of August. The 500 millibar height anomaly, again showing high pressure dominating across sort of western and in some central parts of Europe as well. The temperature anomaly for week 5 shows that many parts of Europe widely warm up, so that could be quite a warm to hot week across many parts of Europe. Bear in mind, we're getting into late summer now, so it will be harder for northern Europe anyway to generate extreme heat. Southern Europe, of course, there's no problem generating extreme heat in the second half of August. But it's amazing how quickly, you know, we begin to lose the possibility, or reduce the possibility, I suppose, of extreme heat across northern parts of Europe, especially Scandinavia. That's how the week 5 precipitation anomaly looks. Generally hints at going drier as that high pressure begins to build. And then lastly, week 6 will be the 23rd to the 30th of August. We look like that at the end of the month. Another change, it looks like it begins to start turning a bit more unsettled with lower pressure coming in towards Scandinavia. So that could be starting to just signal perhaps the first sort of indications, first sort of onset of autumn, perhaps for the very far north of Europe. This area of low pressure there, that might be the beginnings of the polar vortex, and we might be starting to move something a little bit more unsettled into far north of Europe across Scandinavia. Although we do still have an area of high pressure that's dominating close to the UK and France, actually. The temperature anomaly looks like that, so cooling down a little bit across many parts of Europe, but still hinting at being warmer than average, really. And for week 6, that is quite a strong signal, actually, to be warmer than normal. And finally, the precipitation anomaly just looks like it's trying to go a little bit more unsettled towards Scandinavia as that lower pressure begins to start to move in from Iceland and through the Norwegian Sea. Otherwise, many parts of Europe are looking relatively dry, albeit with a weak signal because it's 6 weeks out. Right, that's it for your 30-day look ahead for this week then. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure you like, share and subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody. We're going to be back later on to 10 to 14 day. That will include all of regular features, so come back for that then. For the EC 30-day forecast for the UK and for Europe too, that's all for now, and thanks for watching.